Hello, welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. I'm going to talk about some of my gaming groups today. I'm going to be talking about some of my gaming groups because I want to talk about the concept of group personalities. Um, and uh, just noting that there is such a thing as a personality to a given group. When you're engaging in a tabletop role-playing game, people are going to escape the bounds that the game master is going to try and put them in. I've mentioned this before. Some groups like to think outside the box. Some groups like to ignore the existence of the box. Some groups like to set the box on fire and stuff it up someone's rectum. It happens. And exactly how the group, I've never met a group that would except meekly sitting inside the box and doing what it was the game master kind of thought they ought to be doing, because groups are groups, and I've never seen that happen, actually. How the group responds to the box is the group's personality. Where they go outside the bounds, where they color outside the lines, where they set charges and blow up the coloring book. And gauging a group's personality. This is not in any way, shape, or form going to help you control your group. That's the last thing you want to do as a game master anyway. You don't want to control the group. Moderate the group, guide the group, how you can keep attention flowing within the group. These are all important things. How to make the group do what you want them to do, you cannot. That isn't going to happen. Just abandon the concept that if you have a point A to point B adventure, that you are going to be able to get the group from point A to point B without setting the line on fire. It doesn't happen, and shouldn't. Point A to point B is very boring. It's a solid adventuring session, and it is a terrible story in the end. I'm going to talk about my groups because they give me examples of personalities and examples of personalities or groups and some idea of what to do with that information. I will mention these groups by name. I know some members of these groups may in fact be watching this. Hello, I am going to raise my glass. I mean no offense to anyone. I am trying to be an educator, and I am using examples from my own life and all of my groups. The first group I'm going to talk about is the layer action. The group of individuals I do the podcast with, all of whom are half my age, how they deal with the bounds of the box. They will go from point A to point B, but they're going to create their own set of points along the way. They will bring in elements of their characters, backgrounds, and personalities that they're going to address. If I do not address them, they are going to address them, and things are going to come out. They're going to find a moment where everything could go right or could go wrong, and they're going to seize on it and make a side story happen on that adventure. Someone's critical fumble, someone's critical success. The dungeon master introduces an element that was going to be a thing on the side that we can now ignore. Oh, there's a monster over there. We should ignore it. And someone's going to say, no, I'm going to go be its best friend. And now we have another adventure and everything has gone off the rails. Thank goodness. Because going off the rails is where the fun starts. That's a dramatic personality. They're going to introduce drama. They're going to introduce soap opera and joy and pathos, and it's going to turn into a set of character pieces that are going to dwarf the actual adventure. It's happened more than once when I've been running, when other folks have been running, and it is. What do you do with that? You give them every opportunity to make this happen. Um, when you see people who are making their own character pieces happen, you don't have to worry about how you're going to give them spotlight. They're going to grab their spotlight. They're going to get their pieces. They're going to have their moments. They're going to have a moment of speeches. They're going to take a situation where you could handle it in a mundane way, and they are not going to handle it in a mundane way. There's going to be posing and speeches and diss tracks, and there's going to be a sudden burst of song and poetry and pet taming, and your Dungeons and Dragons suddenly kind of looks like a Pokemon game, and and you're going to run a pastiche of Enter the Dragon, and it's going to turn into a soap opera, and you're not going to have any idea how that happened, but oh my God, you go with it. Because why wouldn't you? It's a group like that that teaches that the players will introduce elements of their characters that players who are comfortable introducing elements of their characters like that create this rich storytelling environment where what you had thought might be the story turns into 50 stories, where you have all of these different elements coming together, and it forms a cohesive narrative, but you can jump onto any path of that at any point in time and turn it into something special. It breeds its own set of additional characters and NPCs, and you follow along with what that is happening. You abandon your line. You keep your basic storyline down, but you build the rest of the game off of their drama and their issues and their capacity for love or distress, and it gives you so much to play with. It's like someone else brings you a box of Legos as a dungeon master, and why wouldn't you build with that? The Naughty Crew, my group that I game with at the friendly local gaming store online, since the I believe we're about to be able to meet up at the gaming store again. I'm not sure how that's going to go. And that group's personality has a lot to do with how much deliberation goes into what they do, how much they analyze a situation, and not what their characters necessarily bring into it from outside, but what they reach into your storyline and pull out. They're not generating a lot of their additional drama, some, but not nearly as much. What they're doing is they're taking simple things that you've created, little elements that you've introduced, and they're reading things into them that you might not ever have intended. But it's better. It's way better than what you brought to the table. And now you have, you got two things. They get the idea that their characters are very insightful and that they're figuring things out really quickly, and you get the idea that they get to see you as a genius because you thought of all of this stuff that you basically are borrowing from their conjecture. I could give that group a butler sits an envelope down on a table and backs out of the room, and I can sit back. I can sit back for 45 minutes and listen as they discuss the butler in the envelope, what is probably in the envelope, what will happen if they open the envelope, what happens if they don't open the envelope, and should they chase the butler down? Is the butler the big bad guy? Is the letter folded up inside the envelope the big bad guy? Has the big bad guy found some way of translating himself into writing? All of this stuff is just going to pour out, and what was a very flat, simple situation, sometimes I will just give that group a detail off to the side, an event which shouldn't matter, or shouldn't mean anything. And sometimes I will get them something completely random, something that is just a little bit out of place or completely out of place. Sometimes they'll get to the top of the Archmage's tower and the Archmage is a puppet. Not on someone's arm, just a Muppet sitting behind a desk, and sit back and listen for a while. I've actually used puppets in that group, and it's been fascinating every single time. And a group like that, so much extra material, so much extra thought. One of the things the game master needs to do with a group to keep this thing exciting is to add tension and stress in the form of, possible risk to their characters. Are their characters going to make it? What is dangerous? What isn't dangerous? Are we being tricked? Is there danger around the corner? And this group does all that for me. They can turn a wagon wheel on the side of the road into the most dangerous encounter in the night, and I just get to sit back and watch. Occasionally roll dice to adjudicate consequences, and maybe pluck one of their ideas out of the ether, doctor it up a little bit so it seems more original, and throw it right back at them, and everyone is amazed. Me included sometimes. There is a group constituting, made entirely out of my patrons, who reach deep into the lore I have created. We did a victory campaign using material from Hot Chicks, and they plunged into the the lore that I had written over the course of 10 years with both hands, and threw giant concentrated balls of it back at me in their character stories and their concepts and how they played them, and did on the knowledge that they had about the world, a bit of which I might have forgotten. And that personality, that group, and they did not build characters with thoughts towards them being cohesive. And in fact, some of them came out of the gate a little antagonistic to one another, and it kind of worked. They were more interested in the goals and exploring in the world than they were in party unity or making sure everyone played nice. In fact, the fact that they didn't always play nice kind of spiced things up and made it a more interesting, intriguing game. And, a group like that, you throw a new bit of lore, you throw, you reach back, you flip randomly through your own stuff, or the lore that you're involved in, and you pull a piece out. It's like, has anyone used this yet? No, let's throw this out there and see what happens. And watch that. It's like playing a Star Wars game with a bunch of people who are really super well versed in the Star Wars universe, and you find an obscure thing from one of the Ralph McQuarrie drawing books early on, and throw that out there and watch them just seize on it and play with it and build on it and examine it from every angle. And that, you get a group like that, you're going to watch the lore grow. You're going to watch people who are so invested in how things have been built and what you've got in the past of this campaign or this background or the setting, and you're going to watch them build things into it, add things to it, create structures and institutions, yeah, either in the making of their character or in the playing of their characters, that is going to grow the world just tremendously in these most fascinating ways. And again, you let that go. You feed that. You feed that as much as you can and watch it blossom. Then there's the Warriors of Wednesday. Clowns on Fire. We started a D&D campaign recently, very recently, just a few weeks ago. And there are members of this group that are relatively new, haven't been with us as long, have never played a role-playing game with us before. And when discussing how this game was going to go, I laid down the setting, kind of what I wanted for the characters, 5th level D&D 5e, and, just, as per usual, expect there's going to be clowns on fire. And I couldn't explain really what that meant until they'd experienced a few weeks of the game, and they kind of just nodded, clowns on fire. And I know some of them are going to be watching this, so I can't say, well, the group hasn't actually set any clowns on fire. It's just a phrase we use. Because if I say that, they're going to find clowns and they're going to set them on fire. I'm not going to introduce any clowns. There's going to be no clowns in the world, and they will find a way to make there be clowns and to make those clowns be on fire. And what that ultimately means is, there is going to come a moment where the narrative can be fine and everyone can be pointed in more or less the same direction and things can be happening that need to be happening, and there will be a miscommunication, a misunderstanding. Something doesn't quite carry from one mouth to another's ear the way that you might expect it to. Someone's personal beliefs or involvement's going to get in there somehow. And before you know it, there is something large and unexpected impacting the group. Oops, we murdered a monastery. Oh no, we accidentally at war with Sweden. Well, we almost killed the bear. Hey, could you go take care of it? Sure thing. I didn't mean give it CPR and let it sleep in your bunk. What the hell? I was taking care of the bear. Something will happen that is huge and game changing and alters the campaign from that point on. And I didn't do anything. I didn't do it. This is one of the places I learned to sit back and go, now, was any of this my fault? And everyone could, no, none of this is your fault. It just happened. And one sooner or later, something will happen that is roughly equivalent to or greater than miraculously setting cows on fire. And what do you do if you have a group that does that on a regular basis, invariably, game after game? you just keep running the games. Sometimes the game master is a calculating storyteller at the head of the table, adjudicating consequences and calculating how to utilize a group's personality to plummet for more material, to make the stories more intriguing, more invested, more diverse. And sometimes the game master is sitting at the head of the table, wearing a 4-point harness and a pair of safety goggles, holding on for dear life as the game happens around them. Sometimes you are just along for the ride. and you'll realize that I'm not in charge here. I was never in charge here. I didn't start in charge here. I'm not going to end in charge here. I am just here to give these people a sandbox in which to set clowns on fire. I've got not much against clowns. I'm not fond of clowns as a concept. I understand their cultural significance and how difficult it is to be one. I know people, I've had friends who've gone through clown college and the various types of clowns. I have no problem with clowns, really. Couple of psychological difficulties, people who can't help but smile and are never showing you their true feelings, things like that, the uncanny valley stuff. But I cannot help but see that element of randomness in their mythos, that element of chaos that clowns invariably bring, that they're there to introduce a certain unpredictability as a symbol of something that, if it is already unpredictable and you have set it on fire, any hope of predictability goes completely out the window, and now you are merely dealing with chaos. And you're holding on to the table, really, really hoping that you have a functional campaign at the end of the night. But there are consequences for trying to corral a group like this, and it is one of the best rides you can take as a game master. If you have a group that just they don't try to create the chaos. They don't. I don't think they try to create the chaos. Not as much as actually happens. Sometimes you're just sitting here adjudicating consequences like, well, there is no other way for this to happen. What would be the best thing here? What would be the funniest thing? What did the dice rolls tell me? I'll give him this chance. Oh, he made it. Damn. All right. You give the bear CPR. It is you get an arm under its shoulder and hobble it back to the airship. It needs rest. Sometimes you give the bear CPR. And sometimes that's the best game you can have. Sometimes that is the one you laugh about for a week, and 5-10 years down the line, you're all standing around a fire eating cheap hot dogs, the beer in your hand, and you you remember that time Leroy gave CPR to the bear, and everyone starts pantomiming it around the fire, and y'all laugh, and that is my biggest definition of success in a game. 5-10 years later, it's still a story. 5-10 years later, it still makes everyone there laugh. And everyone gets a smile on their face and a twinkle in their eye, and they remember the time that they did that. And that's how you win. Well, thank you for following me along in this particular rant. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. If there's anything else you'd like to hear me talk about, subject you'd like to hear me cover, questions you'd like me to answer, go ahead and leave me a comment down below. I will love getting your comment. You will love leaving me one. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, why not? My channel is awesome. Feel free to hit the subscribe button. If you do, you might want to hit this little notification bell next to it so that you're alerted when my videos become available. If you would like to help out the channel or me in a more substantial manner, I invite you to hit me up my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum, and consider donating. Absolutely anything helps. Allows me to make better videos more often. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I'm Scott Corum. This is what has mattered to me. I will see you next time with the next Matters of DeCorum.